What's up guys, I'm Emin from JERMUK, and I'm here to just give you guys a quick tutorial on how we made the leads for Go Back. It's a track on Pink Strip Records. I'll leave a link for you guys to check out in the description. So here's a little preview of the track, and then I'll go over how we made the leads.
What we're gonna do right here is go back.
Alright, so that was the MIDI and the pitch bends I have. See if you guys want to check those out, I don't know. But okay, let's talk about the leads. So I'll solo the first lead. There are two leads. They're pretty much the same synth. I mean the same style. So here's the first one. Here's what it looks like. And then here's the second one. So look almost identical. Just depending on the LFOs and this little filter here. That's kind of what shapes it to make it sound different. So we'll go over the first one. Go over this one first. So I'm not gonna go over every single knob and what I did because that's kind of useless. You can just stare at it and figure out what you need to do. But I will go over some of the LFOs and the effects and what I did here. So here's the oscillators. I think this is just a basic first oscillator. I put a sync on there, and then I think I put an LFO. Yeah, there's an LFO on it which has this shape. It's pretty fast, pretty quick, and it's enveloped, so it just kind of goes, starts here and then it ends there. So let's just play that by itself. So you can see it moves. It makes it move. And that gives the synth movement. It's not just some boring. Let's say I were to turn it off, bypass. So sounds a lot better, a lot different, a lot more unique when you LFO stuff. So first tip is that always LFO things. That's the best tip I can give you, especially in Serum. You can do a lot with it. The second synth, second oscillator, I mean. This one, I only LFO'd the phase. This doesn't do much, but it gives it like a dirtier feel. So I'll turn everything off and listen to that, and then I'll bypass it on and off. So doesn't do much over here, but it's still, but as you can see when I raise it, it makes it dirtier. Makes it like, yeah, like just feels like it's rough. It feels rougher almost, and that's pretty good for big room leads. So then I don't want it that much, so we just lowered it down to this area where it sounds good. I have a sub oscillator here, just this regular sine wave, an octave above these, and then a noise that I've made it just a clean white noise that I have on there. The filter, just a low pass. I don't know if I have anything doing. Yeah, I just have a, again, the same LFO goes over here. It's a little bit slower, 1/8 rate, and that just kind of shuts it off. But this one is triggered, so it just keeps going on back and forth. So if I slow it down, we can kind of see what it does. I'll hold a note. Let me lower the pitch, sorry. So you can kind of see it coming down. It's pretty, so that's what it does. It kind of just takes away some of the highs. I have it at a fast rate, so it does it a lot faster. So when you hold the note, that's what it does. And there's parts where we hold the note later on in the melody, so that does have an effect. And then in the effects, I have a hyperdimension, because these are just one unison, no detune. I mean, this does nothing because you only have one voice. Blend also does nothing. You only have one voice. So if I were to increase the unison, then you can see this is detunement, so this makes it more wide or less wide. And then the blend makes it more mono or keeps it wide. But if you only have one unison, it does nothing. So these, they don't do anything. So then it's very mono, so you have to put the hyper dimension. Yeah, I'll turn these off so you can hear how it sounds, and then I'll turn it on. So sounds wider, makes it a little bit wider, spreads it out, makes it sound bigger. And then we have a distortion, which again I'll turn off and on. So distortion makes it dirtier. The compressor is an OTT compressor, brings out a lot of the high end, and then just a little bit of a boost in the high end that I put right here. That's pretty much it for this synth. For the second synth, let's see, I'll just loop it like here. Second synth sounds like this. So this one is just kind of the same, but the other one sounds more like a vocal. This one sounds more like an actual synth. I think that's because I turned off. Yeah, the sync is turned off here, so there's no movement on here. But I did put a peak filter, and that's what kind of gives it that dirtier feel. This part is the same, just a phase. I turned off the sub. White noise is the same. Kind of made it more like a pluck in this one with just a high decay, and this kind of makes it more interesting. I don't know, doesn't really not that big of a deal, but I mean, you can just mess around with the envelope. And then the peak, I think this is what makes it sound a little more, it makes it a lot better than just a plain sound. So it just makes it a little more interesting. It's moving, it's, you know, it's key tracked, so it's always pretty much kind of in key. It's moving, and then let's see what LFO I have on there. Yeah, so it starts at the bottom and then it moves up, and it's trigger mode 1/8, so it's constantly moving. The oscillators are the same. I think this is just synced. That's why it looks like that, and this one looks just like one phase. So if I were to turn this up, it looks the same. Yeah, so pretty much they're the same. The effects, I think, are the exact same as well. I don't think there's anything different here. Everything's the same. You guys can copy all this if you want to make these type of leads, kind of like Olly James or Kevu type leads, is what I would say. Pitch bend is on 12, so there are pitch bend parts in the melody, which makes it more interesting than just straight notes. So here's the pitch bend. I have this part pitch bending up. I think this is about one semitone, one semitone, one semitone, one semitone, and then I pitch it all the way down, which is minus 12 semitones. So it goes down an octave at the end. There's no note here, but I think the other melody has a note, or at some point somewhere I have notes. So that it, oh, right here. So it does it on this one. So it pitches it down there. Has no effect here, but this one it pitches it down. Okay, so let's see. Let's talk about the processing. Is, I think they're both the same. So I just have this on my EQ. So I just got rid of the low end, boosted some of this mid right here, lowered over here because it has it pretty high in the synth, and then a little more high boost. That's the pro. And I just have a sausage fattener, a lot of fatness, 30%. Beefs it up. I think it's the same exact for this synth. Yeah, everything's just since they're the same synth pretty much, kept all the effects the same, and then I grouped them into a bus where I put the reverb. So I have a Valhalla reverb, pretty long decay. The EQ is pretty standard, and then I put more EQ over here. I put an OTT, I put a sausage fattener, I put a S1 imager, I put the EQ right here to get rid of that high end and low end, and then I put an LFO tool with the envelope trigger on. So every time the lead plays, like the MIDI is triggered, so I have a MIDI trigger here, which is grouped to the drop lead group, and then audio effect rack, reverb, LFO tool. And then what this does is every time this note hits, so it hits the MIDI, this re-triggers the volume of the reverb. So the reverb kind of starts over at 0 volume, which makes the punch of the lead come through, and then the reverb kind of fades in. It's pretty much side chaining, but I prefer this method because if you just do straight compressor side chaining, then if you hold a note, it's gonna lower the volume of the reverb the whole time, and that sounds like pretty unnatural. Sounds weird. If I hold a note for like half a bar or something, the reverb is ducked by like 9 dB or something, for example. It just sounds weird. But this way, no matter how long I hold it, the curve is always the same. So it's on a 4th rate, so this is an 8th. So no matter how long I hold the note, after an 8th, the reverb is at full volume. And that still works because all you care about is the punch. I want that first initial click of the lead to come through, and then the reverb I want it to take over. And then I have an isotope trash at the end of the group. So this is all reverb effects. This only applies to the reverb. It's in its own group. So this is reverb. This is the dry one. It has no effects. So this is just straight synth. And then this one is straight reverb. And then that's this whole group. And then let me just minimize it. And they both go into this isotope trash. I have it on clip control. I just lowered the input, and I lowered the output a little bit too. It was way too loud, and just basically saturates it, compresses it. Makes it sound just louder for the most part. Here's how it sounds without it, and then I'll do with it. So it actually lowers the volume because it was probably too loud in the mix, but it kind of makes the reverb pop out a little bit more, especially at the ends when there's no synth playing. The reverb really comes out louder. That's usually how it works for big room. So it fills up the space, makes it sound good. This is just some automation for the build up, volume automation. Here's a washout, same thing, just for the build up. So it just kind of reverbs it out and takes out the low end. Just only for the build up, it's nowhere else. This build up and then this second build up. Another volume automation to get rid of it during the last drop before the last bar before the vocal. I mean before the drop, to get rid of the reverb that comes in, because it's just, there's a lot of reverb. So I don't want that to be there during the pre-drop vocal. I want that to be clean and then go into a drop. So you just volume automate, bring it down. Simple delay at the end of the fill for the drop to go into the break. I have just a simple delay that's automated so that it delays out and doesn't sound weird, doesn't just stop out of nowhere. I have an invisible limiter just to limit everything at the end. And here's an LFO tool. So this is the shape I have for the LFO tool. Completely gone when the kick hits, and then kind of comes up midway of the fourth, of every fourth. Think that's pretty much it, and I just managed to the volumes and stuff, that all matters on your mix and how you do things. I wouldn't copy that stuff at all. I wouldn't even pay attention to someone else's tutorials when they tell you what volume they do things. That's personal taste, and that matters on your mix and how you have mixed the other elements in your song. One other thing I wanted to show is the click. So I have this master. So I have right here oscillator A. What do I do? Oh, global master tune. And then you click this to make it go in one direction. And then I just raised it up. It's triggered to LFO 3. So it just has a very, very short decay. Nothing else. It has a release, but it does nothing. Just lower this, does nothing. Everything else is pretty much 0. And what this does is it gives it that click sound every time the lead is the melody is hit. So here's, I'll do it without and then I'll add it in. Make sure it's soloed. Okay. So what that does is it takes the pitch from a very high pitch, whatever this is, whatever value this is, who cares, and then it quickly, in 18 milliseconds, it drops it to the normal pitch that I have playing. And what that does is it gives you that clicky sound. You can even do it the other way. I think the other sound is the other way. No, same thing. But you can do it the other way, and then that takes it from a low pitch and it brings it up. But then that, instead of like a clicky sound, that gives it more of like a sucking feeling, like the notes being sucked up into where it is. So I'll just do that and then you can hear it. So again, that's just personal taste on how you want it to sound and how you want to do it. Alright, so that's pretty much the leads. There's only 2 leads I have. I have some stabs going on in the song. Just some reverse synths. Nothing there. This is the kick. Some regular drums, claps, rides. So a little crash hit fill. Here's some crowd noise. Usually we put crowd noise in our songs. It really fills up the white noise. Instead of just a white noise, constant white noise, I like to put crowd noise. Gives it more of like a atmospheric feeling. There's just a Cashmere exhaust that goes down. Some quick Cashmere reverse sweeps. And a reference track, Olly James Lit. Really recommend using reference tracks to get your volumes right, to get your leads right, to get everything sounding like a professionally finished and released song. If you guys have any questions on any other of the sounds or anything else, just leave a comment and then hopefully we'll make videos, more videos in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye.